Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CNCF Harbor Meetup. It's the 12th of February, and as always, this is a recorded conversation, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. Thank you all for attending. I have a few updates for everyone today, and we'll do those, and then spend a little bit of time to answer any questions for anybody that has them. So first, let me deep dive into the updates. Let me know if you can see my screen. So the first update I want to give is we're progressing well on our donation effort. Slow, but well. So we opened up 2 individual PRs, and I'm going to open them up here so you can see them. The first PR is against SIG storage. And basically, this is a checklist of all the things that SIG storage has been validating to make sure that Harbor is conformant and ready to graduate in CNCF. If you go to GitHub, CNCF SIG storage is the PR 52. You'll notice here some of the details, including links to all the documentation, and more importantly, the answers that we're validating and committing as Harbor maintainers and Harbor community that Harbor has met, right? These are the graduation 1.2 criteria. We'll have actually one of the most important documents here is this tech due diligence document. So if you open this up, it has a wealth of information on Harbor. This is like 30 pages of information from everything from our community, the users of Harbor, release methodology, architecture, maintainers, history, alignment. It has quotes from customers. So if you wanted to check, is Harbor ready to graduate within CNCF? This is basically what we're using to kind of drive that. We also have a slide deck that goes through 4 or 5 slides in a much more compressed format, some of the most important details. But if you want to know a little bit more about Harbor and identify, like even know who's the technical lead for an area, this document has it all. And we actually push some of that information as well to our pages. So if you go here, one of the things that it's talking about is who our maintainers are. One of the things we've added in Harbor lately is the ability to identify the maintainers, but more importantly, what is their area of responsibility. So for example, if you want to know more about webhooks, you go to MingMingPay or Yang Wang. If you want to know more about the policy engine, here's the folks that own it. So it gives a little bit more clarity into the inner workings of the project. So we have these PRs for both SIG runtime and SIG storage. Our goal has always been to see if we can graduate by the time of KubeCon Europe. But given that CNCF is and the TOC and others are super busy, we're having a hard time getting on their schedule, and getting their schedule is easy. Actually, getting them to do work is harder. So we are. I'm hopeful and optimistic that we might get it by the next 6 weeks. But it's a goal, not a commitment. The next thing I want to talk about is Harbor 2.0. It's been a while since we chatted, since we canceled some meetings as part of the Spring Festival in China. But our next release will be Harbor 2.0. So we're making a major release bump for Harbor. The main features of that release is going to be 3 distinct features. Number one, we're updating Harbor to be OCI compliant. So you'll be able to do add any OCI compliant artifact into Harbor. That includes CNAP bundles, OPAs, Helm charts, container images, and anything else that might end up being OCI. You'll be able to push them and pull them from Harbor. You'll be able to adhere to policies like quota policy, retainment policy, webhooks will work. Everything in Harbor will work. The only thing that will be tricky is scanning. If that OCI artifact has the capability to be scanned by one of our scanners, it will work. Otherwise, it won't. In conjunction with the OCI compliance, we're also revamping key components of the Harbor user interface to make it a little bit more modern. We're actually even introducing dark mode which is really cool. I'm personally excited about that. And then the UI is going to have a better look and feel, a little bit more modern and more adjacent to the new work that we're doing on OCI. As a side note, we're also revamping the Harbor website. So goharbor.io is going to be updated before KubeCon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And there's going to be two major enhancements. The look and feel of the UI is going to be tremendously changed. It's going to be a lot more modern, easy to find things, easy to navigate. But the second, and this is the most important one, our documentation will be built into the website. So if you want to find out something about Harbor, you'll be able to find it in the website. You'll be able to search, filter, and identify things. So that's going to improve the experience for folks that are looking to find something or new folks that are getting onboarded into Harbor. This is all the first item. The second item is for improving garbage collection. So garbage collection today in Harbor requires downtime. So if you have, have users that have multi-terabyte stores in Harbor, and that garbage collection could take hours, which means that you have downtime for hours for your operations. What some customers have resulted to doing is they have two Harbor instances that they keep identical with either mirroring or replication, and they do garbage collection in one while they switch the load balancer to the other. And then when they're done, they do vice versa. Obviously that works, but it's so expensive. So being able to do live garbage collection is going to be huge. So the team is making good progress on that. And the third is we're actually going to ship Harbor 2.0 with Trivi from Aqua Security as the built-in batteries included scanner. Claire will still be there. We're not going to remove Claire because we need to keep it there for upgrades as well as other situations where customers want to keep their existing configuration. But Trivi will be available as the built-in scanner for vulnerability static analysis. It's a much better scanner, much more well maintained, to have a great relationship with Aqua in the security space. They helped us, deliver the pluggable scanning framework. So we think that's a great enhancement for Harbor. And we're working on them to update the licensing for Trivi right now so it can be compliant with CNCF. Any questions on these three key major features I mentioned? From a planning perspective, before I deep dive into the UI, one of the things that we're working on is we're starting to work on the themes of the next release of Harbor. And this is going to be important because we have to generate some collateral for our KubeCon presentations. And the next release of Harbor will be focused entirely almost on basically being, for lack of a better word, it's going to be around distribution and image locality. Think of capabilities that will enable that is proxy cache capabilities, which we actually have almost working. So we are able to get Harbor to support proxy caching today. We just can't ship it because it requires quite a bit of testing that we don't have bandwidth to do in 2.0. But proxy cache will be there. We will finally finish the work on the P2P distribution, either with Dragonfly or Kraken. I don't know yet which of the two will end up supporting first, but very likely Dragonfly. And then the third thing that we're going to do is we want to actually get Harbor to be a better citizen in edge deployments. So we're going to add some rate limiting and bandwidth throughput limitations on three operations: push, pull, and replication. So you'll be able to limit the amount of pipe that you have for either on a per project basis or globally, so that you can actually deploy Harbor on the edge or push images to the edge without any fear for your operations failing. Any questions on what's coming next? I know that Tianon, I know that you and your team, that last feature might be something that might be attractive for you, since you guys work with quite a bit of edge deployments.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely getting real excited when you started talking about proxy cache and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely cool. And obviously, for every feature of Harbor, we welcome more and more contributions. So if anybody wants to jump on Harbor and help us deliver some of these features, we welcome new contributors. All right, so next I want to show you guys a little bit of the UI demo. This is a recorded demo that we did earlier today in as part of the Asia time zone presentation of the Harbor community. I don't have access to this environment because it's on a local developers. When I say early, this is super early. Like, nobody has it except that dev. But I thought it would be important for me to show you guys a few of the UI screens so you can get an idea of the look and feel of the new harbor. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. So with your at the high level, you start with the same structural interface that we have today in Harbor. You start from a global Harbor, then you have the logical abstraction of projects, and that's the abstraction of which you can enforce everything from policy to static analysis scanning to RBAC. All of that still happens at the project level. That does not change. Under project, though, you have repositories, and that's where things start changing. So you have the repositories, which is generally what you think of today, but then underneath each repository, for example, head tracks or a line of business application, under that, you get to see and he'll click here in a second, you get to see artifacts instead of tags. In today's Harbor, the logical ladder is project, repo, tag. Now the logical ladder is project, repo, artifact, tag. And the reason why this is important, and as you see in this UI, is because with OCI artifacts, the artifact is the basically is the key in in this discussion, and then the same artifact can be tagged with one or more tags. We're going to improve this UI a little bit, and if you view the presentation later on, we had a lot of questions on this. But the most important thing here is you can think of several artifacts being tagged multiple times. So, for example, you have a new release of Redis, version 2.3. You might tag that both as version 2.3 and also as latest. You might tag it twice. And then as a new release comes up, the latest tag can keep moving forward, but the version 2.3 will stay, and that will be the immutable tag there. Oh, by the way, immutable tags will also work here. They're not going away. So in this case, you can have the same artifact be tagged multiple times, and you scan the artifact ID, not the tag. And he'll drill into one of these artifacts here. Let me actually push it forward so I can show you. And within that artifact, you're able to, he's showing you the operations like delete, copy, and all of these things. And actually, before I go into, I want to talk one more thing. You'll be able to push and pull the image in two different ways. You'll be able to push the image and pull it using the digest, which is the artifact ID, or you'll be able to push and pull the image traditionally how you're used to before. So in this case, we have a tag called GGG. So you'll be able to say Docker pull, the Harbor URI, hello world, :GGG. And that's how certain things are going to be enforced, whether that's compliance or any other checking or OPAs that you have in terms of what images you're allowed to pull. Now, if we go and drill into one of these images, you'll see that you'll have the ability to, it's crazy to do a demo of another video. Somewhere here he drilled in. And he's able, there it is. So when we go into one of the digests for an artifact, you can see that you'll be able to see all the details like build history, summary, dependencies, values. Scanning will also be here, similar to how you see that in Harbor today, with the additional thing that you're able to add or remove tags. For compliance reasons, and we talked about this today on the call, we're going to restrict who can add and remove tags to an image. So we're not going to allow just anybody to be able to have control of that. So it's likely going to be the project administrator or master, but likely not the developer or a guest user. So that's kind of at the high level what the new UI will look like. There's no more screens to be shown here, but there was a lively discussion this morning around everything from, is there a better way to represent this data rather than going with a full view around artifact and ID? Like if I'm an end user, and let's take, for example, the third artifact here, 707F52 means nothing to me. So is there a better way for us to represent that? And we're going to look into that. Other competitive products like Google Registry follow a similar model. I'm not saying it's the right way. Um, Maybe a better view of this is to basically order them by tags, and tag being the most meaningful, user-friendly way to expose the artifact might make more sense. We are expecting that most of these artifacts will have at least one tag on them. If they don't, it's kind of I wouldn't call them orphaned, but I'll question a little bit their usage. So we're going to look into a better user experience here. Any question? I've been showing you a lot of things so far.
I noticed that besides the tag, some of those icons are like files, some of the icons are folders.
Yes, so that is correct. We are gonna. The first thing I want to mention here is we're going to improve on the icons, so they all show the Docker whale here. We are getting permission from the different vendors and consortiums that own a lot of the artifacts, so we can actually use their legally acceptable trademarked images. So we're working on that. Actually, CNCF is going to battle with us, with Docker, to be able to have the copyrighted image of this little whale here. So we're basically going through that discussion now. The second thing is some of these, as you correctly indicated, are files versus some of them are folders. So one of the things that we might want to basically put is a little parenthesis after the name to indicate if this is a singular artifact versus multiple. And I believe we actually, Young drilled into one of these at some point in here. Finding it will be not easy. Yeah, I'll be playing around while, oh, there it is. He clicked it there. Let's see. Nope. He's teasing us, but he's not going to click on it. Any other questions?
That would be for things like multi-architecture images, right?
That is correct. There you go. He did click on it eventually. So if you have, rather than having different artifacts that correspond to the different architectures, you'll be able to bundle them all into one. And you can see here the different SHAs that exist for the different OS architectures of those images. And one other thing, we are going to work that on a single repository, the tags need to be unique. So we're going to try to enforce that in Harbor. So we don't want you to tag two separate artifacts with the latest tag and not being able to pull them. So we're going to try to enforce that. Not try, we will enforce it. Cool. That's all from me. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I'll open up the floor for anybody who wants to give us any updates or ask anything else about Harbor.
Is this the video shared yet?
I'll give you the shared link right now. We upload them on YouTube. Takes a week or so usually,
Okay.
but I'll give you guys a link right now. There's no problem with that
Thank
because
you.
it could take a few days to upload them.
I think he meant the link to that video we were just looking at.
Yeah, that's the one I'll provide right now.
Oh, sweet.
Give me a second, and then eventually it will be on YouTube as well. So I'm putting it in the chat. Be sure to copy before it disappears. All right. Any questions? Anything anybody else wants to bring up to the community or talk about something they worked on Harbor or any updates? You guys are all shy now all of a sudden. All right. Cool. I want to put you guys on the spot. So, who's committed to going to Amsterdam? I know that me and Kenny Coleman definitely are going. Anybody else that's for sure going? Beyond the folks that want to go to escape the cold.
I'll be going there, so it'll be exciting to meet you guys.
Okay, well, hopefully see you there, Evan. So we have at least 2 presentations on Harbor, and then we're also signed up for quite a bit of hours at the both VMware booth for the folks that are VMware, as well as the CNCF answer bar, where some of the graduated and incubating and sandbox projects get booth time. So we'll be at both. Cool. Well, everybody have a good. Oh, go ahead, John.
Just a quick question. I don't know if you have the answer for the Kubernetes operator for Harbor. There was the folks from, I think it was OVH, were looking at trying to open source what they had done in there, but it looks like that was like a month ago. I haven't seen any updates since then.
Yeah, so we'll be, so that was stuck in legal for a while, and in this case, it's CNCF legal again, because the licensing that they were using was not accepted by CNCF. So we went through that hurdle right now, and they have updated to Apache 2. It happened late last week, actually. So on Fridays when we got the update from them. So now the Harbor team is doing due diligence to understand the operator and if there are any changes, we need to make them before we bring it into the mix. It's not going to happen in time for Harbor 2.0 release, but we might have a minimum viable product sometime after that will do some basic things of Harbor. The second thing is that the OVH operator did make some assumptions around the OVH environment in terms of how Redis or Postgres was installed. We're trying to figure out how to swap those for, like, for example, the Postgres AJ operator that forgot the company that did it, but there's a public open source operator for Postgres. So we're trying to see if we can leverage that. I'll find it right now. It was in my email.
Patroni, is that the name of the?
Yep, that's the one. So there was a couple of them. There's also the Zalando operator. So we're gonna look into both of them. And I believe we have a few folks that did some comparisons between Patroni and Zalando, and at the high level, it looks like Zalando make more sense for us because of how its architecture is defined, and it kind of matches the Kubernetes operating model a little bit closer. So not a done deal yet, but Zalando might be what we'll pick. Patroni, I think, was made by Crunchy Data, if I'm correct, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, John, if you really want to help us on that, we won't say no.
We're definitely very interested in it, so especially managing some of the deployments and things like that. I think it'll simplify things quite a bit.
Yep, agreed.
We will hopefully soon have Harbor registries everywhere.
Yeah, we want to. Cool. Well, everybody have a good rest of your day. Thank you for attending, and stay warm and safe.